Shruti Smriti Puranam Salayam Karunalayam Namami Kathopanishad Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vadarayanam Sutrabhashyato Vande Bhagavantau Guna Ishvaro Gurudhatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavadyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Pratam Vibhantau Supratasya Loke Vibhantau Supratasya Loke Muham Pravishtau Parame Paradhe Muham Pravishtau Parame Paradhe Chaya Tapau Brahmavido Vadanti Chaya Tapau Brahmavido Vadanti Panchapnayo Ye Chatrinachiketa Yasya Gurujananam Aksharam Brahma Yatparam Abhayam Titirshatam Param Nachiketam Shakemahi Atmanam Rathinam Viddhi Shariram Rathamevatu Buddhim tu Sarathim Viddhi Manah Pragrahamevacha Buddhim tu Sarathim Viddhi. The intellect, the cognitive capacity is Buddhi. Shankaracharya writes, Sarvam hi dehagatam karyam buddhi kartavyameva prayena. All the activities performed by body and mind are buddhi kartavyata, are predominantly done by buddhi. Predominantly. Sometimes that instinctive nature, sometimes that reactive nature may hijack the buddhi for a given moment, and person may do something without consulting a buddhi. As we say, it is a treasure and it is a unique capacity what makes a human as human being. There is a famous shloka, Ahara Nidra Bhayamaithunamcha Samanyameta Pashubir Nara. Ahara, eating, sleeping, fear and propagating is samanya, common among human and all animals. Viveko hi tesham adhiko vishesha. The discriminative capacity, buddhi, is a special thing among the human being. And vivekahina pashubhis samana. Those who do not have discriminative capacity, they are like animals. They are like animals, means they live instinctive life. So, buddhi is a sarthi. The charioteer has to have, we'll see in the later part, have the vision, driving skill. So one has to have vision of life and way of life. Both are necessary once they have it. And therefore, sarthi, and then he says, manaha prabgaha van. Mind is a seat of emotions, is a seat of reactions also. Seat which thinks about pros and cons, benefits and losses, advantages and disadvantages. that always creates doubts and volitions sometimes. That manaha will hold the sense organs, will let them go, the thoughts, the sense organs. And therefore, manah pragrahavan naraha, the mind in English, what we call manaha, is the reins. Buddhi is a sarthi. It can be smart and intelligent and sharp, and clear. It can be foolish and loose and destructive, both ways. And the reins can be held tight, giving proper direction to horses, or it may be loose also. All that discussion will come in the later part. Now he continues the simile further. What is it? See that verse. Indriyani hayanahu Vishayansteshu gocharan Atmendriyamano yuktam Bhoktetyahurmanishinaha Indriyani hayanahu Vishayansteshu gocharan Atmendriyamano yuktam bhoktetyahurmanishinaha Together. Indriyani hayanahu Vishayansteshu gocharan Atmendriyamano yuktam bhoktetyahurmanishinaha Indriyani, sense organs, hayanahu, Indriya, they are said to be the horses. Or they say, they say, sense organs are the horses. Okay. Then, Vishayamsteshu gocharan, Vishaya is objects. The corresponding sense objects of a given sense organ is a path on which the chariot travels, is a gocharan, is the path. And then Atmendriya Mano Yuktam. Yuktam means endowed with. Yuktam, exact translation would be identified with. The self that is identified with Indriya and Manas. In the external sense, body-mind complex in one word. The self that is identified with body-mind complex is called Bhokta. Who says this? Manishinaha. Wise people tell this. Those Rasarupaka Kalpana Manishinaha. Those who are very dexterous, who are smart in this imagery, for the purpose of the imagery, they call this as a bhokta. They call Indriya as the horses. Why it is called horses? There is something common feature of both. What is the common feature? Horses pull the chariot. So also body is driven hither and thither by sense organs to their corresponding sense objects. And therefore they are called, they declared as the horses. Okay? Just as the horse pulls or drags the chariot, so also sense organ drags the body. Some good item is there. The tongue drags the body. To take the dish and eat it is dragging the body. Everything is postponed. We have to do something, no, we'll see later. Let's eat here. There's a good thing available, whatever it is. Therefore, they are horses. And sense objects are the path on which they drive the chariot. See, Ideally, the chariot should be led on the path decided by buddhi. Chariots should decide where to go, not the horses. Understand? Horses, it cannot drive the chariot. But here the teacher deliberately tells that. Later on it will come. In the shloka, indriyasya arthe ragadveshau vyavasthita. Tayorna vashamagacche tauhi asya paripanthino. They are the looters of the path. What does it mean? The attraction for the sense organs, or sense object to a given sense organ is so much, person gets deviated. Person is forcefully driven on other path. Which path? Path of sense organs. Therefore it is said they drive the chariot to the Vishayas. Some strong vasanas about that Vishaya, strong likes and dislikes about that Vishaya drives you there. Even though it may not have permission of your buddhi, it may not have approval from the buddhi, but it just drives. Therefore he says, Vishayans teshu gochara. That marga is the corresponding sense organs, sense objects. The sense object of a corresponding sense organ is a path on which the chariot also goes. Generally, it should go on the path directed by, decided by buddhi. But it goes this way also. That is why these objects are called Vishaya. The actual word translation for object is Padartha. They are there, objects. But they become Vishaya, means bounding. Vishnoti baddhati iti Vishaya. It binds you. How it binds you? By an urge to have it. I must have it. There is an urge. Like the small child, when the daddy passes through his favorite ice cream shop, it pulls the dad. I have to go. We have to eat this candy. And he will make all the tantrums on the road to get them. Similarly, sense organs pull the chariot. But when it is pulled, or for whom it is pulled, though it appears that we impute the blame on sense organs, but ultimately they are doing for what? For the Radha Swami, the master, sitting in the back seat. Who is the back seat? Atmendriya mano yuktam bhoktetyahor maniyeshina. That bhokta is Radha Swami. And who is the bhokta? Atmendriya mano yuktam. Endowed with, in other words, identified with body and sense organ, etc. In one word, the self that is identified with the body, physio-psycho-complex, becomes bhokta. And that bhokta, for that bhokta, the chariot travels. Bhokta wants it, and therefore the Ratha has to go. Indriyani become powerful because the bhokta empowers them. It is like people tell me, such and such a minister or such and such a one of our CM lost. They lost because this fellow, who was his right-hand man, was doing a lot of corruption. The minister lost because his secretary was doing too much of corruption and he got a bad name. But the minister was doing corruption not for himself. The secretary was doing corruption not for himself but for the boss. He cannot take otherwise. No minister would keep such secretaries. They are always hand in glove. So, though we blame sense organs, but ultimately sense organs want to travel on that path for whom? For the bhakta. The enjoyer, I want it. Experiencer, I want that. And that experiencer's demand pattern I like this, makes them indriya stronger because it becomes a pattern. Every time I have been eating, so I will eat this time also. It's a pattern. So, who is this bhokta? Atmendriya manoyuktam means Sanyukta, endowed with the literal translation, with physio-psycho complex, with identified with body and sense organs. No. Atmendriya Manoyukta means identified with physio-psycho complex. What identification? Aham bhokta, aham karta, aham sukhi, aham dukhi. Then only the servants work. So ultimately, the identified fellow becomes bhokta. Here, one point is Atma becomes bhokta. Please understand, Atma means I. I become bhokta. Why? Atmendriya mano yuktatvat. Yuktatvat means what? Tadatmya bhava apanna. Okay? The fellow who is identified with them, that fellow becomes bhokta. In other words, bhoktrutvam, status of being enjoyer, enjoyership, and kartrutvam, status of being doer, doership, that I did it, I want it. That is because of identification with physio-psycho complex. Self by nature is neither bhokta nor karta. Neither doer nor enjoyer. The status of enjoyership and being doer is incidental. Incidental means what? It is because of identification with physio-psycho complex. They are doing all the time. Since they are doing, and since this fellow is identified with them, he feels I am doing. Otherwise, that action belongs to them. And action's karma phala also belongs to them. It is like watching a movie. The hero or heroine will undergo waves of emotions. But the fellow sitting in audience also will undergo. That is possible only when you are identified with the hero. Sanyukta, united. But that unitedness is not physical, going there and getting merged into. No. The cognitive union. He is taken as me. What will I suffer? That also they start suffering. Empathetically also partly. So that is bhokta. The doership doesn't belong to I. So I is taken as bhokta and karta. And that kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam is because of identification with the physio-psycho complex. Okay. And that identified fellow is technically called as jivatma. Okay, parichinnatma, limited self. Or you can say ahankara. There is no ahankara other than this identified self. There is no jivatma other than the self that is identified with physio-psycho complex. That is ahankara. Dehayandriyadishu tadatmya bhava apannaha eva ahankara. I did it is not ahankara. You will say that. But that doesn't make you ahankara. You will never claim that I did it because everything is Brahman. So that's another issue. But here, when he says bhokta, he is one who is identified with this Atma. Now, that Atma means I. That I is bhokta. Because of what? Identification. And any identification, tadatmya, is caused only by ignorance. So, this fellow is ignorant And out of ignorance, he identifies with the physio-psycho complex. That fellow, he becomes a bhokta. Okay? Now understand. Intrinsically, I am not bhokta. Enjoyership is not my nature. Doership is not my nature. For simple reason, that which is natural, you don't want to get rid of it. And even if you get rid of it, you don't become happy if it is natural. Like heat and light is natural for the fire. But you cannot remove that from the fire and then fire becomes happy. No. You are happy only in your natural state. So it is, the bhoktrutvam is always endeavor to get rid of dukkham. That means that is not my nature. Bhoktrutvam is incidental. Okay? And if it is your nature, swabhavikasya na nivrutti. If it is natural, you are going to be relieved from dukkham. Or permanently, when you discover Atma, they say, you permanently become free from dukkham. How is it possible? It should not have been possible. Okay. So, that Atma, I, assumes the role of a bhoktrutva because of identification, because of oneness between what I am not and what I am. Okay? So, that bhokta and that Rathaswami and that chariot is going on. Okay? See, our all other efforts are meant for dukha nivrutti and sukha prapti. Now, if sukha prapti is your effort, purpose of all efforts, that means you are seeking something which is you. Sukha prapti is you if you are seeking. And that means you are free. The free person is seeking freedom. It's a very peculiar situation. If the free is seeking freedom, that free who is seeking freedom is told that you need not seek. That is a bhoktrutvam is there. Till then this knowledge takes place. Till then the knowledge takes place, this bhoktrutva will continue in an independent. That is called Atmendriya. In that Atma, I am bhokta, is because of identification of that fellow with ahankara also. You are no more bhokta. See, your consciousness, which is desha kala vastu parichheda sunya, which is limitless in terms of time, space and objectivity. Correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Consciousness is self-revealing, is available. Now in deep sleep, you feel bound or free? No? That samsara and a samsari is there in waking state. That becoming fellow is there in waking state. Sometimes that becoming fellow is there in dream state also. What he could not become here, he becomes there in a projected world by himself or herself. And sometimes you don't project but some other world comes. And you wonder how come this is showing like this. And that day you want to make sure that this what I saw doesn't come true. Because he saw himself to be different yoni bhokta. It is humanity. So he doesn't want that. But in sleep there is no bhokta. If it is your intrinsic nature, it should be there in all the three states. It is not your nature. Later on, in the Ratharupa Kalpana, in the imagery of chariot, he tells that you get Vishnoho Padam, you reach that Vishnoh Paramam Padam, so Dhanapar Mapnoti. He crosses the road and gains Vishnu Padam. Now, if Vishnu Padam to be gained is real, and if Vishnu is away from me and I have to gain hereafter, then one day it will come to end hereafter also. And I am not going to be there permanently. So, Vishnu Padam is Veveshti Vyapnoti iti Vishnu, which is all pervasive is talked about, he is told Vishnu. So that when you discover all pervasive nature of yourself, where is the question of reprimanding somebody? So it doesn't happen. Okay. Now, Svabhavasya anatikramat, the person cannot cross over or cannot give up his nature, wherever he goes. Svabhavikasya nanivrutti. There cannot be nivrutti from what is natural. You cannot have cold fire. Swabhavika, what? Similarly, this bhaktotvam is natural. It is there. And that bhakta is swarupataha. What it is, kevalasya bhaktotvam na sambhavati. That Atma, which is for pure consciousness, cannot have a status of being bhakta in any which way. You just switch it on, open the door a little bit. Also look at it. That's better. No, you don't remove anything. That switch, that's it done. It's a two-way switch. This will make noise. Excuse me. No, from here only. There are two switches on the left side. One of them you switch on. First. Here, two. So, either one. Left side. Yes. Good. Some fans make more noise than throwing the air. And some of the food also make more noise than spilling the tummy. South Indian Murmur. Murukku. That we call chakri. I'll get to that. So Swamiji liked that. It's a rice. Like, and whoever used to come to meet Swamiji will bring generally Murukku. So when you sit after everybody goes and 2-3 of us are sitting or both of us are alone, he would say, Paramatma, let's make some noise. And you have to eat. He liked to eat that. So he said, let's make some noise. This is noise making. Some politicians are also noise making. So, bhaktutvam is not natural, incident. Later on he will say, this charioteer, Rathaswami, will achieve Vishnoho Paramam Padam, will achieve limitless status. If bhaktutvam is natural, the doership and enjoyership, the doership and enjoyership implies limitedness. By nature I am limited. Or in other words, the bhaktutvam implies incompleteness. I want something because I am lacking.
Swamiji, I will not shall go on.
Recording book. धक्को मार हैंडल छोड़ी ना महाभाष it will not bite because they are intoxicated. They have lost their balance. They will keep moving around looking for a helipad to land. So they will not bite. That's how this thing works. After some time you will see them lie down here. So many, here also so many. Slowly, this is called mercy killing. Mercy killing, they say. So kill in one shot, it is mercy killing. Cows and buffaloes. No, गुजरी जाए. बंद रखिए तो चालू रखो तो सांझे मरेला नहीं. Go slowly. Anyway, whether they get swooned, it's advantage for us. One teenage baby mosquito was insisting to mother, I want to go solo flight. Suck the blood. Mother was Indian mother. No, you are too young, you cannot go alone. And that fellow picked up some arguments. I am grown up, I have to go. Mom, let me go. America. Go. You don't trust me. Finally, mother sent the baby. Before sending the baby, she did some puja. The baby may return home safe and did some mannats, deal with Bhagavan. If she comes back, I'll offer so much to you, Lord. All the deals she made. And finally she came back after half an hour. Mother, you're back home. Baby became more vocal. You don't know me, Mom. You and Dad have no trust. You have no respect for me. You don't know. Everybody outside knows me and they respect. Wherever I went, they clapped. They were all clapping my right. I am the most respected person. Idiot. They are going to kill you. But then you saved yourself. But that's how the baby thinks, teenage, anyway. So, if bhoktrutvam is real, it cannot achieve limitlessness. The enjoyership, I want that happiness. See, it is a very beautiful mantra in Kathopanishad Upanishad, the dialogue of Yajnavalkya and Maitri. Na jatu putrasya kamaya putram priyo bhavati. Na jatu vittasya kamaya vittam priyam bhavati. That I want something. What something I want is always something which I like. I want to eat this. What that and I want. That means there is a priya buddhi. There is a raga in that. What is that raga? What is priya buddhi? I want this particular thing. That means I want happiness out of it. It is not for the sake of an object, not for the sake of a person we want them. It is to see myself as a happy being. Atmanastu kamaya. I want to see myself as a contented person, satisfied person. Look at this small child, toddler, he wants a toy. And it feels so disgruntled without that toy. Makes all tantrum. No, I want it. And finally mother gives that. Satisfied. So it is not for the sake of the toy you want a toy. There is some love for the toy, all right, but the love is ultimately for satisfied self, contented self, happy self. That is what you want. That means you are lacking in it. So bhokta implies incompleteness. Enjoyer, the one who wants it, implies that that fellow is lacking in sense of self-satisfaction, self-contentment. There is always a feeling of lack within myself. Therefore, I want to pursue this. Otherwise, I am not interested in it. So, if that is my nature, I can never be full. A finite number cannot be led to infinity. And infinity cannot be reduced to finite thing. Infinity is always infinity. So similarly, swabhavasya anatikramat, the limitation, the nature cannot be crossed over. It always is. You cannot have a cold fire. If it is a fire, it has to be hot. That is its swarupa. So if it's a bhokta, it cannot be purna bhokta. Bhokta means incomplete only. Here it says, while talking further, after 3-4 mantras, the chariot should be driven in such a way that he gains Vishnoho Paramam Padam. He assumes the status of being Vishnu. That means that is his nature. Gains. This is only incidental. An incidental nature is not just because of association with body-mind complex. The right word is identification with body-mind complex. Taking it to be me, okay? And that is why it is trying to remove. In sleep, there is no sense of insufficiency. Samsari is not there. Bhokta is not there. In dream and waking, the Bhokta is constantly pushing this fellow. I want that, I don't want this, etc. So the status of being Bhokta is incident. By nature, you are not Bhokta. Okay? So here, Bhashyakara writes, Nahi kevalasya atmanah bhoktruttvam asti. The consciousness, self, doesn't have status of being enjoyership. Buddhyadi upadi krutam eva tasya bhoktruttvam. The fellow assumes the status of enjoyer or karta only because of upadi, body-mind complex. And he tells the other Shruti, Dhyayati iva, lelayati iva ityadi. That fellow is meditating as though, Dhyayati iva, moving as though. So, to remove the restlessness of the mind, that fellow is trying to meditate. But restlessness belongs to mind, not to me. It doesn't belong to me. Let it be there. It's a passing phase. I am witness of the mind. That is what one has to know. But appears that I am restless. Exactly like actor on the stage appears to be angry, appears to be crying. But the pain and agony is with the actor. You watch it. There are some fellows, Gnani Mahatmas, while watching the movie they say, oh, makeup was good. Choreography was good, and the lady would say, earrings I want to buy. And she didn't see the movie, saw only the earrings. That was a new fashion she discovered. And she is interested in that earring. When the person sitting in audience starts crying, or tries to stop his sobbing, that is possible only when you are identified with what you see. With the movie, you identify. And therefore, it starts like some of the, I remember in those days, when the hero is going along whistling and all that, and relaxed mood, and somebody is behind him. The gang is planning to attack him. And the people in down stalls, will shout, hey, look back, they are coming, look back. He has to really look back. Similarly, I am restless. Is because of identification with mind. I see that. Like fellow saying, Swamiji, I am angry. Swamiji, no, you are not angry. Swamiji, yes, I am angry. You are not angry. I have come with a problem. I am angry. No, you are not angry. Swamiji, I am telling you. I am angry. You are not angry. I am telling you. No, you are not. I am telling you. Then they said, how do you know you are angry? You see anger rising. Anger was rising, so just as Swami saw, he is also watching. Therefore expression comes. That anger is there in mind. And you become identified with the mind, therefore you become angry. Right. Anger doesn't belong to consciousness. Anger doesn't belong to me. That self which is identified with physio-psycho complex becomes enjoyer, becomes doer. Okay? So, kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam centered on I is incidental. When I say incidental means because of identification of body-mind complex. That's all it is. Too much of identification. I have seen people sitting in the drawing room, they start running. The word Vakya is there. Okay. Sitting here, it goes everywhere. How? how they run when it is a cricket match. India is fielding, the other team is batting. And there is a very critical situation. Number of balls are less and runs are less. And this ball is going towards boundary. From here it is run. That is because of identity. It is played over there. Watch it out. So Kartrutva Bhoktrutva is since that identity yuktam, understand? Atmendriya Manoyuktam. The self that is identified with physio-psycho complex becomes an experiencer. But the self per se doesn't have any status of being experiencer. Therefore, self is told to be asanga. Okay, when it is said asanga, atma asanga, it is from the standpoint of physio-psycho complex. Because it identified with it, to help you to de-identify, it is said asanga. As said, there is another thing to do sangha. So there is no question of becoming asanga. If there is something else, then the association is possible. Advitiya Atma is there. Where is the association possible? And association, this is Maya. A connection between the two is possible when they belong to same order of reality. The self is Satyam and this is all Mithya. Somehow it identifies. There is no answer. That's why we call it Maya. Somehow Satya becomes one with Mithya. Somehow that movie is Mithya, this fellow became one. Sitting in the audience seat in air-conditioned seat, air-conditioned hall, he is perspiring. Because there is some crisis, critical situation for the hero. That is because of ignorance. Okay? So, that samsari, mokta, is there because of atmendriya manoyuktam. And therefore, Shruti says, dhyayati iva, as though meditates. Self doesn't meditate. The witness of meditation also. Lelayati iva, as though moves around. Okay? So, somehow, because of Maya, the identification with physio-complex is sahajikam. And then a kartrutva bhoktruva is felt all the time. To negate that, as Atma is asanga, is told. Atma is aliptaha, is told. And he will explain in the next class. And this identification is natural from birth. Though we say physio-psycho complex, it is identified with everything together. It is not that today I have identified with the eyes and tomorrow with the tongue and next day with the stomach and another day with the mind. No. Everything, physio-psycho complex total, there is an identification. And that is at individual level. That is technically our Vesti Upadhi. The body-mind complex happens to be here and identify. At samasti level, it identifies with Maya Upadhi, same consciousness. Therefore, it assumes the status of Jagat Karta, Jagat Sambhara Karta, Jagat Siddhi Karta, Jagat Utpatti Karta. Ishvara gets a status of creator and destroyer with reference to something that he has created. Nothing that he has created. So the status of creator is also incidental. Asangatvam is also incidental. All this is there to negate what I am not, that I have taken myself to be. I have taken myself to be something which I am not. So negate that part, everything is true. Otherwise, okay? So, Srishti Kartrutvam is also incidental. Ishwaratvam is also incidental. Jivatvam is also incidental. The Swarupa is what? Satchidananda. Satyam Jnanam Ananta Brahma is the nature. Okay. Next mantra. Time. Yastva Vijnanavan Bhavati Ayuktena Manasa Sada Tasyendriyanyavashyani Dushtasva Ivasarthe Yastva Vijnanavan Bhavati Yuktena Manasa Sada Tasyendriyani Vashyani Dushtasva Ivasarthe. Together. Yastva Vijnanavan Bhavati Ayuktena Manasa Sada Tasyendriyani Vashyani Dushtasva Ivasarthe. Evening. Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Namah. Hari Om.